Look at that dramatic lighting. It's more than he deserves. This guy never talks. I never thought he was going to talk more after the first bit where he had a whole conversation with him about his role, but he just sits there silently implementing this. Oh, you can see the original language. Then I click on it and it goes burp. Alright. That's it for day 6, I hope. Right? This one's weirdly not grayed out. Which is weird, because I definitely bought the bull. I don't know why that one... I assume it's a glitch because, you know... I've never played a Western RPG without them. Day 7. Aglaia Lilith. Village? It's been a little bit. I'm forgetting. The Inquisitor. Is that her? No, because she wouldn't be here. Iraida. It's all very monotonous, isn't it? Boring. You move on to a new day, and the inspector dumps more accusations on you. Tick-tock. It's always talk after tick. No variation. Like a hand on a clock. The length of each step known in advance. There's actually surprisingly little inspector, isn't there? Like, they did the initial justification of the framing device with him, but then he hasn't actually shown up that much since then, has he? We've had other characters showing up in between the days. It's surprising, because I thought that was going to be like the core framing device, but I don't know if they have that much they can have him say to concretely justify why I'm going through every individual day. Like, they had an excuse to justify me not doing the first few days immediately and having to earn them a little bit. But if they had to actually have him talk to me every single time to justify exactly why every single day is being discussed the way it is, that might be tough. Or have they? I actually can't remember if we've talked to him every day or not. We've definitely been having some surprise encounters with other characters, but I don't remember. I think one of them was followed by an inspector conversation, but I feel like one of them wasn't. Anyway, I'm just talking out my ass. It takes me like 4 hours or more, or 6 hours to get through one of these days, and then I forget exactly what happened last time between them. Who are you? So, you choose not to recognize me. Sensible citizens often do that, though I really thought you had a different temperament. My temperament has nothing to do with it. I have prosopagnosia. I'm bad at remembering faces. Does he? Is that the explanation for why so many people have repeating faces in Pathologic? Is it because he actually sees them as the same person? Your inspector has a dreadful mess in his papers, doesn't he? Constantly forgetting what happened on which day, accusing you of things that never happened in the first place. It's painful to watch. Do you mistake me for an idiot? I know his mistakes are just a tactic, a way to make me slip up in case I'm hiding something. He'll come back from his smoke break soon and start questioning you about the Inquisition, and the mess will get even bigger. On the 7th day, an Inquisitor arrived in town. Someone meant to cut through the tangled knot of intrigues and mistakes. That much is true. My point is, your prospector's work lacks finesse. He's burying you under false leads, so you'll drown in them and agree to any old nonsense. By correcting him, you're only sinking deeper. Try just nodding along whenever he says something stupid. He'll talk himself into a dead end, and that will be it. Wait a minute. The inspector doesn't really know what events unfolded on the 7th day, considering the Inquisitor. And it seems like you don't want me to tell him the truth. I'm just offering you some advice. Or do you plan to spend the rest of your life cooped up in here, walking in circles? Considering the Inquisitor's first order concerning me, the whole situation smells a bit fishy. You don't want it coming to light, do you? Do you know your personal file says you have paranoia? Not paranoid episodes or ideation, just paranoia. In other words, I'm right. You're scheming against the inspector. If you're going to talk about the Inquisitor, focus on the grand scheme of the town's elite trials, on the well-deserved executions, on the gallows, on the intellectual debates, in short, on the decisions, without any extraneous details. Are you an Inquisitor? No Inquisitor would stoop so low as to take off their iron heart for no reason. And you, I'm sorry to say, currently fall into the no reason category. For some reason I believe you. You must be some kind of assistant. Bajoom. Oh yeah, no inspector. Another day that just starts blank. It's so eerie. That had to be a very deliberate moment that they set up, right? That the early days are so clouded with crazy stuff because they have you skip to day 5 at the beginning. And then you finally break through like 30 hours in to day 6 and you're like, shit, it's just empty. This was empty when I started that day, and now it looks like this. So what's this day gonna look like now? There's a lot of really neat stuff in this game. I have a lot of complaints, but also a lot of cool stuff, in which the Bachelor will remember his close ones. Also, some of the stuff I have complaints about might not stay complaints forever when they give additional context of what their goal is for some of the stuff. Concentrate? This vial contains a universal vaccine. Sounds insane. Stock Reuben brewed it from silver cells that contain liquid time. 1 second of eternity is contained here. Time has not yet come. I'm ready to take it. 1 second of eternity? Does it fix my amalgam meter if I'm like about to lose my playthrough or something? Is it like a get out of jail free card when I'm in trouble? I'm not sure. 3 hours time difference with the capital. All clocks in this town have the same time error. That means same clockmaker. That's not what that means. That just means that they have a different time zone, right? At Northern Station, a freight car was attached to my train. My train car was heated by a stove, just like this one. Looks like that's where the firewood came from. I've been iffy about the having to press Q constantly thing because I think it's kind of dumb. I do feel like they could stylize a lot of this information into the game without you having to press Q constantly in this like Batman Witcher kind of way. I kind of just think it's a weak band-aid in every game it's in because the games have gotten really over-reliant on this feature. But it's interesting having a conversation about why it's happening because Pathologic 1 was a game where all of the assets in it had I should probably keep that stuff in here and loot it later when I need to reload the prototype, because that's a lot of inventory space. But Pathologic 1 was a very specific, bespoke game where everything in the environment communicated very specific things to you. There obviously was like landscape and buildings and so on, but you could talk to every single human being in the entire game, if I remember correctly, and if they shared the same face, they had the same dialogue as each other each day. But every unique human face in a given day had unique dialogue every day, basically. Each variation of adult and each variation of child, in addition to all the actual characters. And also the environment had specific language behind it, like the trash cans you could loot for scavenging had a specific appearance, the water pumps and things like that. Pathologic 1 and 2 both had a design based around having really specific communication in that sort of way. And in a somewhat similar way, I remember playing Resident Evil 4. And Resident Evil 4 had really specific like barrels and things that you could break to get loot out of them. And then Resident Evil 4 Remake came out and famously had that yellow paint everywhere. Like, we have to label every single thing that you can break. And part of that was the increased complexity of the visuals. The GameCube era of video games that Resident Evil 4 came from had much less visual complexity most of the time. So you could really rely on the player picking up what specific assets looked like and picking them out of the environment and being able to consistently react to those things. But as things got more visually complex and messy and chased the graphical fidelity goal of having cluttered and interesting looking environments that make them feel really HD and whatnot, and that was what sold, that made it harder and harder to clearly spot specific assets that you're looking for mechanically, and that's why they get labeled more and more often. This game is doing a different thing where they do that some of these games also do, which is that they have you press a button that highlights the things that matter in the game, which is especially clumsy in a lot of these games, in my opinion. It's like really awkward as a solution to be like, well, here's the cool graphics of the game and here's all the exploration, but here's a button you got to press constantly, like in The Witcher and so on, or Batman, to like highlight the important things constantly, and you just kind of press it all the time. Because the game's kind of not really designed to be playable without that. But in Pathologic's case specifically, they kind of got backed into this corner, I think, because they are still working from the idea of making like sequel/expansions to Pathologic 2, which are themselves a follow-up on Pathologic 1. So Pathologic 2 was an adaptation of the formula of Pathologic 1 that specifically tried to iterate on and perfect Pathologic 1 by kind of making the same game, but learning all the lessons they could from the process and making was ultimately only one campaign, unfortunately, but like they, by many accounts, successfully iterated on Pathologic 1 in a way where they'd mastered it and really succeeded at that. Pathologic 3, from the outset, has been known to be sort of a compromised thing where they're like, we can't do that again. The games don't make enough money. They're just never taking off. Making stuff in the exact formula of how we did 1 and 2, it's just not working. So we knew years and years ago they were going to do a weirder thing, and it eventually became clear that they're doing like a not quite open world time travel-y thing. And we'll know, and I'll get the full picture as I go through the game, exactly what the whole game was shaped like and how this pays off. So I'm not going to specifically do a verdict on that. But it is interesting knowing that they're like, oh shit, well, the world's gonna be made of stuff from Pathologic 2. This is like a Majora's Mask sequel, the way that Majora's Mask is full of assets that were used in Ocarina of Time in order to like make it easier and cheaper to make and so on. So it's largely the NPCs from Pathologic 2 and environmental assets from Pathologic 2, and largely even the same map. It's even closer to being saying, you could even more accurately say it's a Tears of the Kingdom sequel compared to Breath of the Wild, where it remixes and reformulates stuff. But I think it's even using the same map with almost everything about it being largely the same, but that's based on my unchecked 2019 memory. It feels right, but I haven't actually checked to see if it's the same map or not. it's probably the same assets, at least on some level. Like, I see the water pumps. That's one of the first things that jumps out to me is I see the water pumps everywhere. And I'm like, ah, there was the water pumps in Pathologic 1, then a different looking series of water pumps in Pathologic 2, and specifically the iteration that those ones would break down or get poisoned over the course of the playthrough and stop being reliable because they were always reliable in the first game, and that's a way of subverting that and adding more complexity to it. In this game, the water pumps are completely non-interactive, but they're still there, so you see them everywhere. And the environment is full of stuff that was previously interactive, but no longer is. And you can no longer talk to every single human being you run into, but only specific ones. All the named characters, the assistant NPCs and whatnot, and then there are specific events that spawn throughout the map that articulate edicts and so on, like events that have happened somewhere around town. We've seen them. They spawn in certain locations. They're NPCs that glow green. I go click on them, and then they'd be like, that thing you did, blah, blah, blah. Here's why we're mad about that. And they're like mad about all of them every time. That's their solution, is that they then have to go like, okay, here's Q. This will show you the stuff that matters. Because almost everything isn't interactive now. And the stuff that is interactive is stuff they want you to find, but you're not going to be able to find it based on pattern recognition necessarily, because it used to be you just talk to everybody, and the stuff that is interactive now doesn't necessarily stand out. Like, it's really not clear which stuff you can interact with to loot, these random bookcases and whatnot. You really do just have to hit Q to find what you can loot, hit Q to find out which stuff will affect your mood, hit Q to tell which characters actually have dialogue and which ones don't. So it's because we're working backwards from the previous model and assets and didn't make a game from the ground up for this system. And the previous games happen to be open world, which this game kind of still is a little bit, but not in the same spirit. I think that's why they've really had to just like be like, we need this Q button. It's the only way this game's gonna be playable. But it is a rough button. It does bum me out a little bit. I don't love its implementation and concept, because doing this all the time is just kind of a downer. It's also just not great on keyboard. Like, when you're moving with WSD, having to hold Q, it's just like a really awkward button for that purpose. And I think that's an uncontroversial take. For anyone that has had to play this game on a keyboard, holding Q constantly while walking around fucks with your ability to walk and so on. So she has become an NPC I can trade with, but not necessarily a daily dialogue character, much like this guy. So I'm like collecting a variety of characters that can increase the variety of things I can trade around. That's interesting. The cow is taking a bath, it seems. Oh, take a sample. Bull analysis. First bull analysis. Every day I come here and take a sample and analyze it. Material examined. Externally the bull hasn't changed, but the sand plague is beginning to multiply in his blood. Observation must continue. And then I guess we'll come back tomorrow to follow up on this. Research showed, yes, this bull is truly infected, so I can't say it doesn't get sick at all. Observations continue. It's infected, but does it ever become symptomatic? Or is it just safe? The question, I guess. I wish the piano was better at giving me a red.
I'm overflowing with soul. I have enough to share.
Count your buttons. What? Your buttons. There might be something missing from your coat. Children came by early this morning asking for something of yours. They had a preference for buttons. Are they gonna make me a voodoo doll of me? More local rituals? Are they hoping to curse me? They're making dolls. You, Burrock, Clara. The children already stole something from Burrock, and Clara gave them a couple of fishing hooks she wears. And now they've come for your buttons to make eyes for your doll. Why the three of us? Have they run out of townsfolk, so now they're making dolls out of the new arrivals? Are you surprised? Come on, we have 3 of everything here, remember? 3 ruling families, 3 parts of town, and 3 answers to the main question. Even the children know that. This has to be a somewhat confusing thing to talk about if you're new to the franchise, Because in the first game, those were the three protagonists you could play as separate campaigns, but that is increasingly tenuous information if the later you join the series. We're not enemies. If one of them somehow defeats the plague, I'll only applaud. You ready to accept someone else's answer? You don't strike me as the type. While one little envoy begged me for your buttons, the other children were arguing about how to play properly. They decided the dolls should help each other at first, and then argue in the end. Good thing we don't have to follow the rules of children's dramaturgy in real life. I just wanted to tell you, I thought it was funny. I didn't give them the buttons, but they already have some anyway. From the very first day, when they ransacked your luggage. Soon enough they'll figure it out, and take the doll's eyes from there. I'll blame all my mistakes on being controlled by children through a doll. It's the perfect cover. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, that'd be crazy if that was the plot of the game. Wait, citizen. We're looking for Daniil Dankovsky. We were told he was staying in a Stillwater. What's the matter? The Inquisitor has arrived in town. You must be taken to him. His personal orders. They keep saying him. The people saying him in the preceding days made sense to me because they just hadn't met the Inquisitor yet, but didn't y'all meet the Inquisitor? Unless it's not a Glaya. We've been told it's a Glaya, though. Why the hurry? Has something happened? Are you blind or what? Plagues in town. Riots. Anarchy. The Inquisitor comes specifically to sort out your mess. Come on, move it. We've got orders. Oh, smelled the power, have you? Want to twist somebody's arms already? You've strangled kittens when you were little, haven't you? Cut off chickens' feet? Gotta love the audacity of this guy. Get him, Mark. He doesn't want to play nice. Easy. Easy, guys. Calm down. No arm twisting needed. I'll go with you. Is it going to be inside the church again? Or has its purpose changed too much? Hello. Third-person perspective of myself. His pocket is bulging, ooh-woo. These are local men. A band to separate him from the crowd. Just a rag. My orderlies wear similar ones. The Inquisitor came alone. Did the Inquisitor prepare? Were these assistants recruited here? They're escorting me like a prisoner. What does the Inquisitor want with me? I'll be punished for not containing the plague. Perhaps he's looking for Simon. He's the emissary of the powers that be. He wants the Attica. They've stopped. Have they lost their way? Something's not right here. I've never seen a scene play out like this in this game yet. It weirdly has the vibe of those like freeze frame Yakuza 0 cutscenes. Yeah, none of the cutscenes or inspector moments and concentrate moments have played out like this. Have they lost their way? Is something not right here? Are they gonna kill me? Are they not here for the Inquisitor? Are they sick? Are they planning to do something with me? Are we being followed? Are they not who they claim to be? Random people? They showed no real proof of working for the Inquisitor. Uh-oh. Bang. Bachelor Dankovsky has been shot by an unknown hand early in the morning in an empty street. Wait, hold on. It seems you've gotten a bit carried away, esteemed bachelor. So you've been shot? But here you are, sitting right before me. What is gonna happen here? The capital, present day. Is this a forced death?
Hubris. Even the word itself sounds unpleasant. One would think you might have picked a more becoming sin.
Fuck you. How about wrath? Wait, hold on. It seems you've gotten a bit carried away, esteemed bachelor. According to your account, you were executed at the dawn of the 7th day. Am I speaking to a stand-in then? Did we just get back up the next loop? A woman came here. She said you must not know the details of the 7th day. Don't make things up, esteemed bachelor. There's no one here but you and me. What you say is not possible. If fatigue is making you see things, then you have all the more reason to tell me the truth fast and go to sleep. You're lying again. Even in tiny, completely verifiable details, you always choose to lie. So, did the Inquisitor's men put you up against the wall or not? This bit is crucial. Look how you perked up when the Inquisitor was mentioned. You're afraid of them. I wouldn't be so flippant, dear bachelor. If the Inquisition is involved in this case, this may be your chance to prove you were merely a pawn in someone's far more experienced hands. It's in your own best interest to lay out this part in as much detail as possible. The Inquisitor's agents did come to me. They did threaten me, but by fate's will I met an Inquisitor in the capital half a year ago. Who? Ironically, we met at a chess tournament. Huh. Hello. This game's wild. Ooh. Look at this pretty room. Would you like a scalpel? A tested tube? Someone was smoking. Queen's Gambit. What for? I was checkmated before I even sat down at the board. The game was rigged from the start. Oh, what was that? Seemed to be an outdoor thing. We got scales. This door leads upstairs to Thanatica, if Thanatica still exists. Bigger beaker. Seraphima, my assistant. She came to Thanatica on her own, when we weren't yet published. He was also the first person to forbid me from submitting an article, ordered me to revise it. Seraphima believes in Thanatica, not in the person of Bachelor Dankovsky. That's why she's so dear to me.
Need to do the reverse transcriptase test again. Pretty sure we missed the heat mark in the 4th series.
I still think this is outrageous. What is? Letting Inquisitors behind the pulpit, using the Institute for propaganda instead of science. How could you let this happen? You really think I have the power to refuse the Inquisition's demands? To prevent Lilich from making her departure? From making her lecture? I'd say death is easier. I'd say death is easier to defeat than the Inquisition. I've heard the lecture this Lilich gave. 5 minutes in, and I knew all about her already. She hasn't come here to teach. She's come to recruit. What if they offered collaboration with the Inquisition to you, Seraphima? Would you refuse? I have refused already. She's not looking for agents anyway. She just needs informers. She says the Inquisition protects its own, but that's just lies. You know. People are expendables for the Inquisition. They call themselves the law. But it's all just words. They are really no more than a bunch of common hangmen. It seems you're on edge. Never seen you like that. Has something happened? Or is it just the lecture Lilith gave? It has. My lectures and those of Platon were cancelled this week. And I was just bypassed again. Yet again, they're up to these dirty little games. Thanatica is stuck in their craw, so they pressurize us any way they can. The dean didn't explain this cancellation. He said it was just schedule changes. Convenient that any changes always have to do with Thanatica alone, isn't it? Is there anyone in the laboratory right now? Platon, as usual. I suppose even if the lab is closed, Platon will linger in the place as a ghost for a couple more years. Don't say that. Platon's a brilliant scientist. I believe he has a bright future before him. Unless we're closed down. Our situation is indeed dire, but it's too early to give up yet. Go on with your work. Seraphima wasn't in the thing still? Whoa, it's moving weird. We still have one more person beyond the board to introduce. I assume... because it's all people that aren't there, except for, I guess, Eva. I assume Aglaya is going to be one of the queens? And same goes for the military guy? Well, the pieces are introduced because they're too important not to have them by now. Still a few more things to add in as we go. Timelessness. Is this spring? I don't understand. The capital is frozen. And there's a little guy down there. One little character in the entire place. Any no interactions here. Oh. Is this Thanatica? Almost certainly skipped a bunch of rooms to get here. Ah, this room, yeah, we've been here before. Always with the butterfly. The blue butterfly specifically highlights a handful of the most important items that come up here and there. There you are. Oh. Yeah, the character they mentioned is probably the last one they'll add. Yep, Platon, my assistant. He technically wasn't here yet because we only talked to him during a difference. I mean, during that sequence they could have added him. That was a he's standing there and you click on him moment, I think. Platon, my assistant. Very intelligent, full of political insinuations and witticisms. Sometimes I'd stay up late with him over research and an uncorked bottle. He made so many ironic remarks about his unhappy personal life that eventually I realized it was a source of great agony for him. Oh. Doing great. Associate N? Supposed to be a different character? This is our chance, I tell you. Ah. Carpe diem. If we want to save the lab, we have to seize the day.
Cheer up, Chief. Want to hear that grey-hair joke again?
This guy's
The one you
spooky.
love so much.
I'd like to ask the esteemed bachelor first. What do you think of this Lilith woman? I think she's a dangerous woman. It's better to stay away from her. I've been to the lecture. Lilith spoke of the Inquisition's function, of the hierarchies, of how the law works. And you know what? I believe this is a sign. Thanatica needs protection right now, like never before. And who would protect us better than the Inquisition and the law? I'm not sure. During the lecture, I had an impression that Lilith was addressing me personally, hinting that she could help. If we are to collaborate with the Inquisition, no one would touch us. That is the law. This is a horrible idea. Everyone who's ever collaborated with the Inquisition has come to a bad end. Yes, indeed. I agree with the Bachelor. If we swear our loyalty to Lilith, other Inquisitors won't be able to get to us. They have an inner code of conduct. They leave people from each other's teams alone. It's not the Inquisition we have a problem with, it's the Academy of Sciences. I can see you haven't been to the lecture. The Academy answers to the Inquisition. That's the chain of command. If we negotiate her patronage with Lilith, that would be a serious argument for the Academy. What do you think, Bachelor? I don't like the idea. The risk is too great. Pigritia mater vitorium, Dankovsky. In our case, idleness means death. The law has a nasty habit of punishing those who are easier to reach first. Swearing loyalty to an Inquisitor is like painting a target on one's back. You know what? Daniil Dankovsky, the man who founded this lab once, was the bravest man I've ever known. What's become of him now? Aren't you ready to do anything for your brainchild? For your science? I'll go talk to Lilith, see what she has to say. There he is. He's the last person on Beyond the Board. Yep, that makes sense. It just took a while for them to fill in my assistants that we knew about a while ago, but didn't quite make it in. And yeah, we keep these butterflies. So whenever I see them in the other game, the other part of the game, that's all representing parts of Thanatica, regardless of whether they're literally or figuratively there. Ooh, this door opens. Oh, I didn't get to check out the surrounding area that much more. Womp womp. A lot going on here, though. The chess club director. Amazing. First time I've seen a player who sacrifices pawns that easily. And she's outplayed me despite that. You see? You look pretty joyful for someone who's just been outplayed. Today, I was a witness. I would even say participant of such an extraordinary game that losing it was a joy more than anything. Aglaia Lilith gave a chess simultaneous exhibition today. 10 boards, timed each of them. 3 of them she won during the debut. The others, I don't even want to speak of it. She sacrificed her pawns with such ease. I was sure I'd win, and I was mistaken. So, Lilich won all 10 of those games. Not all of them. Mostanskaya managed to reduce the game to a draw. She didn't care about the pawns either. They kept flying off the board quicker than I could blink. Lilich seemed to be very impressed by that. I've heard Mostanskaya's got an offer already. They're recruiting her to the Inquisition. A recruitment tool for the Inquisition is just who sacrifices pawns most willingly? That's just having a disregard for life. Mostanskaya, huh? It would be a great shame if she accepts. She has a brilliant mind. I'd agree if I was in her shoes. Making a career like that is a dream come true. A dream. You students, you never learn. Every pawn is always convinced it's a queen. That's why they're so easy to sacrifice. I've heard it was the other way around before. I've heard it was the other way around. Before, it used to be dangerous. Now, if you work with the Inquisition, nobody will touch you. If an Inquisitor executes someone who works for another Inquisitor, they will have problems, you know. They no longer do that. That's what I call pawn thinking. Believing in your superiors more than you believe in common sense. Vicious. Alright, so yeah, they have, we haven't spent as much time here, but we see people from this space, so that's definitely a hint. This is an upsetting world. They could, like, you might even prefer to live in the steppe, because everything else you see outside the steppe seems like a worse society. This is just upsetting.